All right, welcome everybody. This is Western New York Athletics. My name is Matt O'Rourke. Sitting next to me is Coach Tom Shiflett. We are back to kick off the wrestling season. It came up on us pretty quick, kind of a late start. Runs right into the football, the end of the football postseason. I know we got some teams still playing, but it's always wild how it just kind of creeps up. We get a week of practice in, hit Thanksgiving, do certifications, and boom, we're off and running. So. It's Monday, December 2nd. We got matches starting on Wednesday already. We got tournaments coming up this weekend. There's a lot to look forward to with another great season. We got a ton of returning wrestlers, boys and girls. We got a lot to talk about in both of the disciplines, and just kind of wanted to kick off the season the right way. So
it's time to get rolling. We did our preseason. You and I, the last time we were together, it was at the girls' freestyle tournament. The Train Grounded owned his own tournament at Mullen Sports. To highlight that freestyle tournament and some of the girls that are competing, they're obviously now getting ready to start this weekend, this coming weekend at Salamanca, which is one of the first tournaments of the season. But you obviously just put out a nice preview for the boys and girls here in Western New York, highlighting the individuals and the teams, some of the facts from last year, how we did, and then what to look forward to this coming season. So we're going to start off obviously just talking about the boys side of the wrestling, because obviously you got the move with St. Francis with some individuals moving there from large school and small school.
Yep.
You've got new rules that were put in place to, in my opinion, to increase action and offense, and I love that part of it. And then you've got some new coaches. So you addressed a lot of stuff in that preview. I thought it was awesome, and
Thanks.
It's definitely a great opportunity for us to kind of dive into that and start talking about the different schools and the programs
Sure.
that are going on. So let me ask you this first. We'll start with the teams. Who are some of the top teams? Let's just say, obviously, we got St. Francis. St. Francis is here, and obviously it came out today that they were ranked number 1 in the state. I think Minisink Valley was number 2. St. Francis has had a number of kids, from the public schools move in there. But from a Section 6 public school, who are you thinking are the teams to beat or are going to be sitting on top this year in our section?
Yeah, well, first of all, just let me say thanks for checking out the preview.
Yeah.
I love to nerd out on that thing. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I love to just throw my facts and my little my notes and my annoying text messages out to administrators, asking them all the sorts of questions and stuff. But I like to read that stuff. So thanks.
Well, listen, you've been doing a great job for many years
Thank
helping Western New York and Section 6 wrestling. We appreciate it. So a lot of times that goes unnoticed, but not with me. And so we appreciate the details and the stats. And that's why we're here today, to try to do this podcast and to get more information out, to highlight, Section 6 wrestling, other things that are going around at college wrestling, other things that are going around the country. I think it's really important. Sometimes there's you need more than one source. And another way maybe to talk about things, and that's what we're doing here. And we appreciate Western New York Athletics as well for giving us an opportunity to be in the studio here on a Monday night at 6:30 to talk wrestling for an hour.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll move on after this, but I just wanted to. I grew up in a wrestling house. I have a lot of knowledge that I'm interested in sharing, and I thought it's the best way for me to. If I'm not going to be able to coach or whatever, to be able to kind of share what I know and what I like to learn, and I learn from other people as well. So I love being around the kids too. The kids are great.
Yeah.
What a bunch of great group of young men and women. Obviously, wrestling makes the best men and women.
Yep.
Go on to be, workers and parents and
sometimes
neighbors
it's
and stuff,
not just about the wins and losses.
Sure.
They're getting a lot more out of a sport like this. So.
Well,
all right,
cool,
so let's get back to these
All right.
teams, because I want to hear
Teams.
I like I said, I read the preview, but let's talk a little bit about who you think.
Okay.
Because I'm sure it goes a little bit deeper than what you put in the article about what you're thinking. And I think you came out with some rankings or something.
I do, and I was saving them up for tonight, and we'll put them up here in the broadcast. But I do have St. Francis on the top of my large school team rankings, and this is team dual power rankings. This isn't a list of who beat who. And obviously there's been no wrestling yet. This is just my personal analysis. So if you want to get mad at anybody, get mad at me. This is just my personal analysis on how many kids did a school graduate? How many returning wrestlers do you have? You know, how many returning postseason places do you have? That kind of thing like that. So that's all it is. And honestly, this weekend, I think we're going to get a couple of ranked matchups right off the bat. So I have St. Francis #1. Niagara Wheatfield, of course, returns a lot of talent. Coach Sweeney and Coach Plotz and the gang always bring back a ton of postseason class placers, a bunch of state tournament qualifiers from last year. I think that they'll probably, if I were to say, probably be the team to beat, looking to repeat in the Section 6 Division I dual meet tournament. I actually have Clarence. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing about Niagara Wheatfield, is that, I've just been back for 2 years, but one of the things that I've noticed, and I know maybe since I've been gone, they've always had a strong program, but that feeder program that they have, the club that they run all year is outstanding. Yeah. And you wonder, that is a perfect reason why you see the consistency in their program. Coach Sweeney and the other coaches in that program, they just do a phenomenal job. They're guys, they're wrestlers, the boys and the girls, they all wrestle hard. They have a system that they do. They stick with it, and it's just an impressive program that they have going there, and that's why every year, they're on top or one of the top teams in Section 6.
Well, and I know that there's obviously Power Cats in Niagara Falls too. I think the clubs probably are very symbiotic, kind of one and the same in some regards. I would imagine that most kids who come out of Niagara County at one point in their young careers wrestled for NWAA. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of pictures of wrestlers that are, upperclassmen now with their NWAAs on, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, because we just obviously did their certifications, but I see how many boys or girls are on the roster, and the girls, they have 36 girls on their roster. I mean, that is an unbelievable, impressive number right there, and that's that's so.
Yeah,
that's why
it's great.
That's why they're on top.
Yeah, well, so my number 3, honestly, going into the season is Clarence. I think Coach Storr brings back. He's got 2 returning state qualifiers, 1 returning state place winner. After that, I've got a Niagara Falls team that was pretty good last year and really didn't lose many seniors. So I think that Niagara Falls will end up having another really good season. I actually have Frontier rounding out my top 5. Coach Chowski's done an incredible job there, has a returning state place winner at heavyweight, followed by Lancaster, Jamestown, Hamburg, Williamsville North, and St. Joe's in my top 10. And I gave a shout out to Amherst, Orchard Park, Williamsville South, and Grand Island as my honorable mentions going into the first week of the season. 5 of the 7 ECIC 1 teams are in my initial ranking. So I'm expecting another really good competitive dual meet season. ECIC 1 has had the most competitive duels top to bottom. They're up to 8 teams again. All 3 of the ECIC leagues, 1, 2, and 3, are all 8 teams. So there's going to be 7 league matches for those teams instead of 6.
Yeah.
Like it's been mostly normally. So, yeah, what's it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5.
Right.
So, in small schools, it's the usual suspects, I believe. Chautauqua Lake.
On the southern tier.
Yeah, Chautauqua Lake returns a lot of talent. So does Falconer. They had some great battles last season, really competitive CCAA 1 small school teams. I right now probably give Chautauqua Lake the top spot in my first ranking, followed by Falconer, and then I have Newfane in the top 3 as well. It was killing me. I can't really decide who to put at the number 2 right now between Falconer and Newfane. I think Newfane certainly has an opportunity with 2 returning state place winners who have 6 state placements between them.
Yeah.
Coach Lingle, they should have another really good squad there, followed by Portville, Cuba Rushford, Pioneers under new leadership this year.
Did you have Wilson? Did you mention Wilson?
Not for my initial one, but I do. There's a lot of love for the Niagara Orleans teams on here, though, followed by Iroquois and Springville. Iroquois is back in ECIC 2. Springville's the defending co-champ with Iroquois in ECIC 3. They won their first league title in 30 years last year. Springville did. Followed by Southwestern. In the 8th spot, they were in the sectional duels final last year. Randolph, a returning CCAA 2 champion, followed by Gowanda, who qualified for the duels last year for the second time. And then my honorable mentions are Medina, Eden, and Barker, Royalton, Heartland to start the season. So
very good.
That's what I got going on.
Yeah, I think I was saying Wilson because I was at the state tournament last year, and they had some individuals that just did really, really well.
Yeah.
Heavyweights, obviously. One of them has transferred into
Right.
St. Francis, but they still have.
Two returning state finalist, or a returning state finalist and a returning state place winner.
Yeah.
So coming back for them. So yeah, a lot to look forward to for Wilson for sure. But they qualified for the duels last year. Them and Gowanda. I like to see what Coach Carlo brings back. But I think that NO will have another fairly competitive season this year. I know that there's not a lot of teams, but I mean, there's only 6 Niagara Orleans teams, and they had 14 state qualifiers amongst them last year, so that's pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
well, how about let's talk a little bit about the individuals now.
Sure.
Returning state qualifiers or state placers.
Mm-hmm.
Highlight some of those guys that could have an outstanding year. Some of them are seniors. Some of them are still young, like Trevor Mueller from Clarence.
Yeah.
He's one that kind of stands out to me because I know he's a tenacious competitor, and
Right.
and I think he's going to have he's going to have a really good season.
I agree. He could be, especially if he's matched up with AJ Ditas, who's a senior.
Yeah.
If they're back to back in the lineup, right in the middle of the lineup, that could cause some serious problems from a
Get
matchup
the
perspective.
momentum,
I bet, right?
Yeah.
What's your breakdown on that when you have two great wrestlers back to back, or even 3 in a row? What kind of matchup problems does that cause for another team?
Well, I think the other part of that is it's the momentum. You start getting that momentum going, and you're in a dual meet. A lot of times that's a big deal. It takes a little bit to try to break that momentum. So when you got some of your top wrestlers, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row, you start breaking away that score. You start seeing the gap in the team score,
Sure.
and that gets in your head a little bit. So that's great that they were strong last year. Obviously, up and down the lineup, they were pretty tough.
Yeah.
So they've got some guys coming back, and obviously, like you said, one state returning placer, and another, Trevor.
Yeah.
Who made the trip. So.
Right. It was section champs, so 2 returning section champs. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they worked in the off season. I'll tell you that they were working all off season.
Yep.
While playing football.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Yeah, for returning place winners in state tournament, I guess if you want to use the state tournament as our baseline here, our Section 6 Division 1, we have 5 returning Section 6 champs, 3 returning state placers, 13 returning qualifiers. That's a pretty good crew. Low on state place winners, but very heavy this year on seniors. So we're probably going to be looking forward to relying on those seniors to needing them basically to place at the state tournament. We need to stay competitive in that PowerPoints
Qualification.
Automatic qualifier system.
Yeah.
We dropped 1 spot between last year and this year, but remember that's a 3-year kind of aggregated formula.
Yes, right.
So we're good for now. I know that our place finish in the state tournament wasn't what we hoped it would be last year, but with a lot of returning seniors, that's kind of what I highlighted in my preview was, don't worry, there's an opportunity for us to move up, especially with getting seniors to place top 8. We need
There's some experience coming back.
Yes.
that can get to that tournament and really do well.
Quite a lot, and a couple wrestlers who have been maybe once or twice who haven't placed, that it's like now's the time we need you to get on that podium.
Yeah.
Especially, obviously you need the seniors because you need those place finishes, but you really want those underclassmen as well to hit the podium and bring those state place finishes back for their senior year or their junior year, whatever.
Yeah. Well, that Braden Kellison from Wamsville North is another
Yes.
Young man that's
He's one of our 3. Yep.
Yep, placed at the state last year, and he's just a sophomore.
Right.
Very, very talented.
Reached the state semifinal, lost right at the end there. Real heartbreaker. You were there.
Yeah.
But he's right there.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
Yeah, he's got a great feel for wrestling.
Yeah.
Smooth. I mean, if you watch him, he's a slick sucker
Sure.
when he wrestles. So.
Our Division 2 team, we have 6 returning Section 6 champs, 14 returning state qualifiers, and actually 10 returning place winners. Our small school team took 3rd in the state tournament last year in the section team standings, which I believe was tied for our best place finish in like 6 or 7 years. So it was a really good performance by our small school team and quite a few returning place winners as well. On our Monsignor Martin side, we'll have 3 returning state qualifiers from St. Francis who were at St. Francis last year, all 3 of whom placed, obviously, 2 state finalists, a 6th place finisher, and they've added, obviously, 2 returning state finalists, as well as another state qualifier with Tanner Catcherbone. So they will absolutely have, without a doubt, the best heavyweight lineup in New York State with 4 state tournament finalists between like 160 and 285 pounds. I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's like an all-star team.
Two returning state qualifiers, one of whom's a placer in the lightweights, kind of leading the lightweight crew amongst a couple of other wrestlers who placed in the CHSAA or in Section 6 last year who didn't quite make it to states but are really leveled up. So I did put out a thing on them. If anybody cares to read that, I did a little special thing. Me and Mr. Pataki, shout out Jeff, showed up at St. Francis and just kind of said hi and familiarized ourselves with the team, and really excited to see what they're going to do. Their schedule is ruthless.
I was just gonna say they're going to challenge the kids in that program this year.
Yeah,
but I think that's
I've talked to Coach Lorenz and I've talked to Coach Hart, and their goal, last year, going into the future was we want to wrestle a high-level schedule, and that's exactly what they've done. They're going to 3 nationally recognized tournaments, have Wyoming Seminary on the schedule, are going to go to an elite dual meet tournament in Albany. So, they're really doing what they say they're going to do and challenging the wrestlers and, bringing a lot of attention on Western New York, quite frankly, with this kind of a team that they have. So I'm really excited for everybody. I'm really excited to see St. Francis. Our All-Catholics, I'll mention real quick, our Monsignor Martin All-Catholic tournament. Very few seniors graduated last year. I think this might be one of the best all-Catholic tournaments that we've seen in quite some time. St. Joe's has a couple of wrestlers who are right on the verge of punching through to the State Federation tournament. Sean Gordon, Aiden Shanker, some young wrestlers who come to mind who Coach Kennedy is very excited about. So St. Mary's as well has a wrestler who is right on the verge of passing through the CHSAAs. Hit the podium last year, returns this year with a place finish. So I'm very excited for all of our CHSA or our Monsignor Martin wrestlers as well as obviously St. Francis.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yep. So, yeah, and I mean, we can go on the girls real quick, or we can save that for another segment. Why don't we?
Well, let's go into what we should do. Let's just take a few minutes and talk about the rules, new rules.
Yep.
How has that been? We'll just take a break and then we'll come.
Yeah, let's take a quick break, leave the cliffhanger, and talk about the new rules next, and then some of our implications for our girls wrestlers. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Ready, Bobby?
Yeah.
At freeway speeds, it can take an 18-wheeler far too long to stop.
Now?
Keep going! Fact is, it can take 2.5 football fields for a semi-truck to stop.
Over here.
And still, we see many big trucks barreling down on everyday motorists.
Thank you. Hey!
If you're injured by a truck, I won't give them a break.
Finally.
Truck hit your car? Call William Attar.
Just results.
Your life can change in an instant after an injury. You need a trusted partner at your side. Hi, I'm Dan Chacha. At Dan Chacha Injury Attorneys, we're here to help you navigate the challenges you'll face. Our dedicated team fights tirelessly for your rights, ensuring you get the compensation you deserve. Don't worry, Chacha's got you. Call Dan Chacha Injury Attorneys today for a free consultation. Your injury is our priority.
Call 648-3030. Just results.
All right, welcome back. This is Matt O'Rourke and Coach Tom Shiflett, WNY Athletics, with the wrestling kind of season kickoff show. Going to get into our next group of topics here. We'll start off with some of our rule changes. I mentioned it briefly in my recent preview, and also shared a link for more information to the NFHS website. But NFHS came out with a couple new rules that NISFA and the New York State Wrestling Committee didn't have to spend really too much time thinking about. They were pretty much no-brainers when it came to adopting these changes.
Yeah.
We can adopt the changes or choose to not to. So instead of yelling 2, the big one this year is all you parents out there start yelling. Make sure you yell 3.
That's right.
3-point takedowns. The near fall criteria: 2 points for a 2 count, 3 for a 3 count, 4 for a 4 count, and 1 point of contact needs to be within the 28-foot circle between both of the wrestlers in order to be counted as inbounds.
Right.
Those are the 3 major ones. Check out the link for more information. What do you think about these rule changes, Coach?
I think they're outstanding. I think it promotes action. I think it promotes offense. I think it eliminates more out of bounds breaks and going back to the center, which I think that's all very positive. And I think and I think I've talked about this in previous podcasts about, from a coaching perspective, how that changes your practice and some of the things that you want to work on. I mean, that out of bounds where people stop wrestling all the time. I mean, you can totally change a match just by, in practice working on wrestling until the whistle all the time, using the out of bounds line. Just like in freestyle, we can talk about this with the girls with the zone. And in girls wrestling, if you step out of bounds, it's a point for your opponent. So in boys, it's not a point, but if your hand's in or your foot's in, we're still wrestling. And it takes repetition, and consistency in practice, working on those drills, and different techniques to get that takedown on the edge. And also, from a defensive standpoint, continually wrestling until the whistle, because you're trained, to, all right, I'm close to the out of bounds, or before when you just thought that was it, the whistle was blown, or now it's not. It's you continue.
Do you think what does this effect have on refereeing?
Well, I think the position is important.
Yeah.
I mean, the officials got to be moving and getting themselves in position to make sure that they're gonna call it properly and make sure that the action continues, so that there's no break in the action. And if there's an individual on a leg attack or in a position in short offense, whatever it may be, or the guy who's defending the leg attack, that it's going to continue and complete, whether it's the takedown or he scrambles out. So I think that makes a difference for the officials. I'm sure they've worked out it and talked about it.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
then you have the 3-point takedown. I mean, you can widen the gap pretty good. You get 2 takedowns. Let's say you get 2 takedowns. You get a takedown, it's 3-0. You get it 1 for an escape. I get another takedown, and it's at the end of the period. I'm up 6-1 at the end of the first period. That's
significant.
That is significant. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And then you throw in, again, those are things that you work on, like the end of the period, getting that late takedown at the end of the period. I mean, that's something that you can work on as a coach for your team. When someone's ready to relax, when there's 10 seconds left in a period, there's 10 seconds left, that, hey, this is what, these are some of the things we're going to work on. Get that late takedown. It gives you an extra 3 points. That widens the gap. That makes it difficult. That gets in your opponent's head a little bit.
That might even change what you do. How about if you're a coach in the corner and say your wrestler's up, 6-1 at the end of the first period? What do you do then? You maybe in the past you would send them down. Maybe you just go neutral and you just widen the gap.
Depending on the opponent. If that opponent or that team is pretty strong on top, they do some things that they practice and kind of want to stay away from it. You feel pretty confident on your feet. Absolutely makes it.
Well, you could even send them on top now too, and just say, okay, well, if you can't control them, let them up, and you're still up by 4 points.
Right.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
So, and then this is these 3 rules are current rules, I guess, at the collegiate level. What does I guess what is it? What do you think about high school reflecting what the college game does and becoming a little bit more like that without being completely like college?
Yeah, I mean, I think they pass it pretty easily because of they've seen it and they know that it works and it has improved. I don't want to say the product, but as a fan, if I'm watching, I want to see action. I don't want to see the whistle blown every 5 seconds. I want to see scoring. I want to see action. And I think those rules that are in place, that they just put in place, it's helped college, and it's now gonna help at the high school level.
You coached in college, obviously at the highest level, and I'm sure you still have connections. Without having to name any names, do you have any feedback from anybody that suggests directly on this topic that that's a great idea, good job, New York State? Anybody
I don't think I haven't spoken to anybody specifically about us adopting those rules, but when they came out at the college level, there was some grumbling from different coaches because they weren't sure. But quite honestly, it really hasn't made that much of a difference. I mean, people are wrestling, and I only think about myself like when I sit down or I go to the national tournament or I watch the conference championships. I see more action. I see more points. I see, and that I like that. I mean, that's what I want to see. That I think it's all been very positive.
Okay.
That other rule that we didn't talk about was the near fall.
Yeah.
Again, from a coaching perspective, you want to work on strategies, take down to turn immediately. So one of the things that we practice would be I take you down. Always want to have some type of focus when you get on top. And you got to, again, it's repetition. It's working on it all the time. So if I hit a single leg, I take you down, I'm immediately going under the arms and I'm working the wrists. Trying to, and then I'm going to go to like a cross wrist tilt. I'm going to go to a gable bar. I'm working something because I get a takedown. It's like we just talked about. I get a takedown. Now I get 4 near fall. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm up 7-0.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's significant again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You give the guy, guy gets out, he gets 1, it's 7-1.
Sure.
We end the period 7-1.
Yeah.
I get another takedown at the end of the period.
Well, how
And
about
now it's 10-1. It matches. I mean, you're so confident.
Yeah.
After the first period.
Yeah.
So.
Well, how about this though too? How many times have you seen, some confusion over if a referee how many swipes he gives? Right now, there's going to be no more confusion. It's like you swipe twice, that's 2. You swipe 3. What was it before? It was the difference between 2 and 3 count.
Yeah.
Where someone might say, "Well, you swiped," and the referee might say, "Oh no, I didn't. It wasn't really." He came out of
Simplified.
right. He came out of criteria, and now you got like a discussion going on, and now it's like, okay, well, I swiped my arm twice. That means I did too.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it definitely simplifies it a little bit.
Simplifies it, yeah.
Which is good. We need a little bit more, not to, I don't want to say we make wrestling easy, but we make it, there's opportunities to simplify things for everybody. It sounds like a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So those are some really good rules they've implemented, and we'll get to see them this weekend.
Sure.
I think Sweet Home's got they have their duels this weekend, right?
It's the Joe Shiflett duels.
Yeah.
After you know Joe Shiflett, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Coach,
happen to know him.
Sweet Home is this weekend. St. Francis, the Vin Louis Pizzeria Southtowns duels is this weekend. The Matt Marino tournament, Pal Mac duels, Triple O, Anderson Memorial, Wellsville duels. So all of our teams will be. I mean, most of these tournaments are in Section 5 or Section 3 or whatever. Really, only a couple going on in section, but I mean, early on in the season, we'll see a lot of our teams go to Palmyra, Macedon, or go to Webster, or wherever some of these tournaments are. Stack up against some of the good
Different
Monroe County,
competition,
the good Monroe County big schools, which obviously Monroe County League is one of the best in the state.
Yeah.
So I think Falconer usually goes to the Anderson tournament in Cicero, North Syracuse. That's usually a great tournament. Then of course we have the Alexander Lady Trojans invite and the Salamanca event that you mentioned specifically for the girls. So. Tons of wrestling, so go out and watch this weekend. But if you're local, St. Francis will have their duels Friday and Saturday, and Sweet Home will have their duels Friday and Saturday as well.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be popping in probably 1 or 2 places this weekend.
Yeah, and this is another good reason of doing this is because we're talking about if you're a wrestling fan and you're looking for something that's going on, we're mentioning different tournaments and things to go to and be a fan and watch some wrestling, see the new rules.
Yep.
And watch your favorite team, whatever it is. So this is a good opportunity.
Yeah, come take a look at their participation. Participation was good before the pandemic here. Unfortunately, for a year or two, it kind of kicked everybody's butt. But I think that the numbers are back and better than ever before, and especially when you include how many girls teams there are. We're up to 23 girls teams. We added 13 of them this year. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, let's with that being said, let's shift over to the girls because I'm pretty excited about it. Actually, we'll take a break. All right,
we'll do a whole segment.
Take a break.
Yeah, we'll do a whole segment on the girls. We'll do returning wrestlers, freestyle. We'll go over the whole shebang.
Okay,
perfect.
Sounds good.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Were you injured in a car accident? Or were you injured on the job? Don't wait. Call your patient coordinator, Tom Prince, at 716-771-9690. One of the hardest things to do is to find a physician that accepts no-fault car insurance or workers' compensation insurance. Let your patient coordinator help you find the physicians that can get you on the road to recovery.
Okay, welcome back. We got our final segment here of the Western New York Athletics Wrestling Kickoff Show. I'm Matt O'Rourke, sitting with Coach Tom Shiflett, and we're going to spend the last part of our show here talking about girls. There's a lot to go over. We got a lot of teams, a lot of new teams, a lot of past teams from last year that had great seasons, all up and down and across the section. We have a bunch of returning state invitational qualifiers and place winners, and we also definitely need to hit on the fact that girls wrestling in New York State is wrestling freestyle from here on out. And I would just to be clear, this is the newest sanctioned sport in the state of New York. This is now a varsity sport, not a club, not an invitational anymore. This is the real deal. And and we're right on. We're kind of living through history this year.
Yeah, this is exciting. This is a very exciting time. I've been saying it obviously for months because we've done these podcasts, throughout the summer. And I first want to thank. Obviously, there's a lot of people to thank, but I do want to thank the officials.
Oh yeah.
There was several officials. I think it was 10 to 12 or so that, there's quite the process to try to become dual certified. So you're a folk style official. You've been doing that for many, many years.
Sure.
And now we're asking you to learn a new rule book and jump on board with this girls freestyle wrestling. And there's a handful of officials in Section 6 from 2 different organizations that have just been outstanding. They've done everything that they needed to do to prepare and get ready for this weekend, which is the first tournament down in Salamanca. And so I just wanted to personally thank them because, it took time out of their weekends, their days to come and participate. Like we did the tournament, the Train Grounded tournament, and that was their first freestyle tournament. Ever officiating, and they had to do the training, and it was a full day of learning. And
New York State Wrestling Officials Association was very quick to hop on it in support of, obviously they had to be approached, but I think once they learned more about what was going on, I think it was a very quick decision. New York State Wrestling officials, they want to make sure, yes, we have to be dual certified. Yes, we have to know the rules. We have to, this takes some time. But this summer they went crazy with it. They saw wrestlers or referees from all over the place. We had a couple very experienced referees from Section 3 come out. I saw even that one of them came out and did the Dewville women's match just a couple weeks later.
Was it Todd Spencer? So Todd Spencer, he's one of the Section 6 officials. He's actually one of our only M2 officials. So when you get certified through USA Wrestling, you start as an M3 official.
Okay.
In order to become M2, you have to officiate in a regional or a national type of event.
Yeah.
And then you'll get to the M2 certification. Sure. So Todd is our only M2 official, and then we've got a number of M3 officials that can work on becoming M2 officials. The highest is M1.
Okay.
But it takes a little bit of time to do that. So we do have Todd, who's pretty experienced with freestyle wrestling, which is nice because he's kind of the leader of Section 6 when it comes to girls freestyle or freestyle wrestling in general.
Well, either way, I just thought wanted to make a note for New York State Wrestling Officials Association. Shout out to them. Obviously, a great old proud group of referees that have done a great job in the state of New York for a very, very long time. So, job well done.
So let me I printed out some stuff because I wanted to get some stats about the girls because it's pretty exciting. I mean, you mentioned obviously the number of teams. So we just did our certifications this past weekend, and so when they go into track wrestling, we have a portal where we do our certifications. The girls and the boys get certified for the lowest allowable weight that they can wrestle this season. The difference between the boys and the girls is the boys have a descent plan, which is 1.5% of their body weight that they can lose per week to get down to the lowest allowable weight if that's what they want to do.
Right.
So they have a descent plan, and it's pretty thorough, the process for certification. It's pretty impressive, the scale that they use, how they indicate how they figure out the lowest allowable weight. The girls don't have a descent plan. So they get certified. They still do hydration tests and body fat and all that, but they don't have to do a descent plan. So there is a little bit of a difference. But
and
once
the 2 pound weight allowance at
after
Christmas
the 25th,
applies to both boys and girls still.
Yeah. Yep. So if the weight's 120 and you certified for 122, you can't wrestle 120, which is the weight, until after Christmas when it goes up to 122.
Indeed. Yep.
Right. All right. So anyways, through the certifications, we get a lot of great information where they get certified, and all that information goes into a portal, and then from the portal, you can customize things and see participation numbers. You can figure out how many teams have a program, and you can see, obviously, compare stats from last year to this year. So this year, when I was looking at Section 6, we have 30 teams / schools that have at least one girl.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty good. If I even broke it down a little bit further, because we have some combined teams like Chautauqua Lake, Niagara Wheatfield, and Niagara Falls, and I mentioned Niagara Wheatfield is the team. Niagara Falls is combined with them. They have 36 girls. I mean, that's an impressive number. We had 12 programs. So again, if I break apart Chautauqua Lake, which has 3 or 4 schools that fall within the Chautauqua Lake program, then we're closer to 40 schools that have at least one girl wrestling, and that's big. That's a huge increase in number of programs, and it means that there's a bright future, that these schools they're getting girls out, and now it's just time to grow the participation, grow in numbers. Sure. But the interest is there. So we had 12 programs that had 10 or more girls on the team.
Okay.
So that to me, that's a pretty significant number as well.
For sure.
That we have 10 teams / schools that have 10 or more participants.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've gone up as a section. Well, let me just say, in New York State, we have 2,104 girls wrestling in the state.
Certified.
Okay. We went up 38%.
Wow.
From last year. We have Section 6. We went up 21%. We went from roughly 207 to 251 girls.
Okay.
And again, just talked about the number of programs that we've added. You mentioned it. So there's some significant gains that we're making on the girls' participation and the interest in starting a program. Mm-hmm. So those are really.
And I think relative to the population, I think that's got to be one of the highest rates. Like relative, obviously, it's not like Section 8 or whatever where there's more people,
right?
But there might not be as many teams. Like
right.
Relative, for how many people there are, or how many schools there are, relative to our geography and our population, that might be the highest rate in the state. I mean, there's probably like 53.
Well, I can even give you that. Yeah, I can
Perfect.
even get. I mean, I can tell you right now. So Section 2 leads. They have 361 girls wrestling. We've got 251.
Yep.
We Section 3 has 262.
Okay.
So we're third right
Gotcha.
now on participation. I will say this: Section 5 went. They percentage-wise, they're at 69% increase. They went from 112 to 190. So,
wow. Yeah.
I mean, there's some pretty impressive stats. I mean, girls wrestling, I mean, without a doubt, it's growing like a weed here in New York State. I mean, there's the participation numbers are really, they're skyrocketing.
Well, how cool is it also that I think our women's Olympic team had a fantastic performance this summer as well. I mean, what a time! Like,
Yep.
What a perfect timing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And listen, I think there's I mentioned this again in another podcast, but there's other states that are watching us this year. How is this freestyle going to do, in New York State? Is this something that where we're doing folk style right now, can we transition to freestyle, seamlessly without, a lot of bumps in the road? And so there's probably states like Pennsylvania and Iowa and Ohio that are looking at us saying, hey, let's see how it goes. And maybe this is something that we can adopt ourselves and move into, just wrestling freestyle, because it really makes a lot of sense.
So, organizationally, what is it going to take, or how long is it going to take, or what is it? I guess broad question, but what is it going to take to get? So now we're going to kind of start from the top down. with girls wrestling freestyle, how do we get that into Pee Wee rooms, or will that ever be in a Pee Wee room? Freestyle wrestling. Where do you?
Well, I
how do
can
we
tell
approach
you. Well, we talked about Niagara Wheatfield. We talked about the club that's out there, right? And that feeder program is critical. We definitely need to start doing it in the middle school. There are a number of clubs here in Section 6 that are definitely behind girls freestyle wrestling, and they're doing it. I mean, you got Niway and you got USA Wrestling here, where they're all embracing USA Wrestling, the freestyle, and I mean, it's 100%. This is it. This is what we're doing, and I think we're going to see some tremendous growth. And the other part of that is the move from right now this season. Obviously, you can wrestle on the boys' side and the girls' side, and at the end of the season, the postseason, you can wrestle individual state, the Section 6 girls championship.
Sectional championship.
For the individual, right. Yep. So you can go ahead and wrestle against the boys and then come on over and wrestle the girls in the postseason and do it that way. I don't think we're going to see too much of that.
Okay.
I think the girls are excited to have freestyle wrestling, and I think they're all embracing it, especially like you just mentioned, the Olympics and all the viewership that we saw at the Olympics.
Well, if I were to just make like a comment as well, I think maybe it might be in the best interest, especially in regards to how we're going to have an actual state tournament this year. It's not going to be called an invitational anymore. It's called a state tournament now. Right. Which was a very important designation that NISFA had to kind of give it, the tournament we've had. But that tournament is going to be on Thursday, the 27th of February, followed by the boys' state tournament. So 3 days of wrestling at New York State tournaments, championship level tournaments in Albany. I think you would want to see probably your best wrestlers there. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, especially not just for this year, but for the coming years as well.
100%. Right. We're working on right now the how the qualifying system is going to be. I can tell you this, without getting too much into the details, the USA Pin rating system is going to be a big part of New York State wrestling, in my opinion. Okay. It's a great rating system. I think it gets rid of some of the older ways that we would decide things as a sport, and I really like it. Okay. I did a lot of research on it. I really like the system that they have in place. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that when it comes to, seeding tournaments, who's qualifying, that sort of thing. So we're trying to educate the coaches on that right now for them to educate themselves on the USA Pin rating system, performance rating system, because it's really important, the future of freestyle wrestling. So let's talk a little bit about the girls that are returning. Yeah. Some of the teams that we have.
So we counted 23 returning qualifiers or wrestlers at the Invitational, and 7 returning place winners. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 state finalists.
Right. One two-time champ. Yep. 2 returning finalists, a 5th, a 6th, a 3rd, and then a whole bunch of others who competed at the event, but misplacing. But obviously, we're going to know that number is probably going to. So we're going to have 13 section champs this year, and we're going to have. We already know our qualifiers. I think it's 7 or 8. I got the number right in front of me actually. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 runners up that'll qualify for the state tournament with the qualifier allocation system. Yeah. So what was that like coming up with the qualifier?
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna and it could change. It could go up depending on the other sections, because if they don't have a top 3 finisher, then they can't fill those spots. We could end up with more. We could end up with additional.
Right. Well, we know for now that
right now that's set in stone. That's the way it's going to be.
Okay. And we should definitely have the numbers right to fill out. When that wear 94 pounds, for example, we're going to have at least 2 wrestlers, right? There's no concern with the number of wrestlers, I think, for us, right?
No.
Okay.
No, we've got 251 girls, I think, that are certified. And actually maybe a little bit more, because I got a couple emails today. That I think there were some late certifications, but I think we actually have a few more of that. But
Okay.
What is it? I don't know. If you do your math, it's 13 times a 16-man bracket.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have 16-man bracket. Some of those weight classes may not 100% be filled at the sectional tournament, but it'll be enough that we're filling our qualifications.
So that's actually, it leads me to a quick question. I wasn't really clear on this before. Is there any new information on how you were going to qualify to wrestle in the sectional championship?
That's going to come out this week.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So
Stay tuned.
I've been kind of working on that. That there's part of what I was talking about, the pin rating system.
Okay.
So with the season starting on Saturday, my goal is so we want to try to get that out here in the next day or two, so the coaches know what the qualifying system is going to be for the section tournament.
Perfect.
And then moving ahead into the state tournament, because as a coach, you want to prepare your team, let them understand, be transparent with how everything is going to work, and every match is going to make a difference, and that section tournament's I'm pretty excited for. I mean, it's kind of like the pinnacle of a lot of work that people like Alex Conti and Brad Rowe and others have put in, Mark DiFilippo, that have been working for years to try to get this going, and so that's like crossing the goal line right there.
Absolutely.
That's the Section 6 first ever girls freestyle championship, and I plan to make that a really nice event. And I will say, while we're even talking about it, is the tickets for that tournament are going to go on sale this week.
Okay.
You can go to the GoFans.
Right.
If you have the app or you go to the website, you'll be able to go to the girls wrestling Section 6 state qualifier. Tickets are $7. Our goal is obviously we want to standing room only. We want to sell that. The tournament's at Sweet Home High School. It's actually February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. So great opportunity to bring your significant other and watch a little wrestling.
And that's a Friday. And important note, so it doesn't run into it's not going to run into the boys tournament, but the boys sectional tournament is Saturday and Sunday. So only
And
girls
actually, the
wrestling
boys don't
Friday.
start, I don't believe, until later in the afternoon. So they have all Saturday morning.
Right. I just wanted to make that note. So
yeah.
it's like, okay, well, do I want to go watch the boys? Well, there is none. It's not till Saturday and Sunday. So
That's exactly it. So those are going to go on sale this week to get tickets. We do expect to sell that tournament out because it is going to be the first girls Section 6 championship, and because it is freestyle. I'm excited. That tournament's going to be filled up. The qualifying system for it's going to be fantastic. And as we've mentioned, we've got 23 returning state qualifiers, 7 returning placers, and that's pretty exciting. So, and obviously, the field is filled with more teams. So, so I'm looking forward to that. We're already working on that tournament, and so if you please buy a ticket, get one for your significant other, bring some friends. Let's pack the gym. Let's make this a great event and a celebration. Like I said, for all the work that's been done by a lot of people, to get this going. So this weekend, just to talk about the girls' schedule, because I have obviously a tournament schedule. This weekend, Salamanca. There's a tournament, obviously, another tournament at Alexander this weekend. So if you want to get out and watch some girls freestyle wrestling, you can do that. Next weekend, we're looking at North Tonawanda. The following weekend is the NCCC tournament. Okay.
Yep.
Followed by Eden, Chautauqua Lake, and so on. So I think if we're going to continue doing these, we'll just keep talking about the different events that are coming up that week, so everybody knows. Hey, listen, these are the tournaments or dual meets. I want to, like from a girls' standpoint, if Salamanca is the first tournament, it'll be interesting to see who's going to be wrestling the first girls' freestyle match in Section 6. I'd like to we got to figure that one out.
Yeah,
find
that's a
out
good question. Who's going to be?
Who's it going to be?
Yeah, what 94-pounders are?
Could be 94.
Yeah.
That's right. It could be.
Cool. Well, awesome, Coach. That's I think we got a lot of great information in. Let's put something on the calendar again soon, and and look forward to seeing the results of, especially, you know, I can hype up, you know, the wrestling, and we can talk about it, and we can hammer it home and do these write-ups and do all these things, but nothing matters other than, you know, seeing what actually happens on the mat. I'm excited to see what I'm excited to see. I know that these wrestlers in our area have been working extremely hard this summer. I know that, you know, they're practicing all summer. They're going out of town to wrestle. Some of them have just decided to exclusively wrestle.
Yeah.
You know, it's an exciting time in Western New York, not just for you know, especially because of the rise of girls wrestling, but I think that there's a good crop of wrestlers now. I think that we're pretty young when the pandemic and all that happened, and I'm hoping that, you know, we start, you know, as these kids get older, we start, you know, we're going to eventually run out of kids who say like, oh, well, we didn't have a modified season for 2 years or whatever, you know, like that was impactful. So I think we're heading, obviously, as time goes on, in the right track.
Yeah.
But I mean, our area is obviously setting the tone when it comes to girls wrestling and raising back the participation for boys wrestling. I mean, there were some outstanding dual meets last year, some outstanding performances at the state tournament, and I think it's just going to get better. So
yeah, and you gotta listen. You gotta tip your hat to the coaches. A lot of
Always.
the coaches in the area, or they're doing and some of the club coaches in the area are doing a great job keeping the boys and the girls wrestling all season, taking them to tournaments, you know, getting them into camps, and doing the things to make sure that you know, they're getting better and they're improving. So hats off to the coaches.
Absolutely.
And I've obviously already mentioned the officials, because without them we don't have competition. And we need them, and they have a lot of value.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate what they put into the sport.
Perfect.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, for Western New York Athletics, I'm Matt O'Rourke, Coach Tom Shiflett. We'll see you out there real soon.
See you this weekend.
Yep.
Thank you.